June 25, 2009, 12:21 p.m. A 911 call shattered the silence of a Holmby Hills mansion in Los Angeles. "We have a gentleman here that needs help and he's not breathing." Within hours, the entire world would learn that the king of pop was gone. But what happened in those final 24 hours? What was Michael Jackson doing? Who was with him? And what decisions, made by others, ultimately led to one of the most shocking celebrity deaths in history? The answers lie in a timeline filled with exhaustion, desperation, medical malpractice, and a man who just wanted to sleep. This is the untold story of Michael Jackson's last day on Earth. Before we dive deep into this story, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We bring you the most compelling stories about legendary figures, unsolved mysteries, and moments that changed history. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's go back to where it all began. To understand what happened on June 25, 2009, we need to understand the weeks and months leading up to it. Michael Jackson, at 50 years old, was preparing for what was supposed to be his greatest comeback. The This Is It concert series, 50 shows at London's O2 Arena, was set to begin in just 18 days. These weren't just concerts. They were Michael's way of proving to the world that he still had it. That despite the controversies, the financial troubles, and the years of tabloid torture, he was still the greatest entertainer alive. But behind the scenes, Michael was struggling. Rehearsals at the Staples Center were grueling. At 50, his body couldn't do what it once did at 25. He was losing weight rapidly. Some reports suggested he weighed as little as 136 pounds. He was often cold, wearing layers of clothing even in warm weather. His hands sometimes trembled. And then there was the insomnia. Michael Jackson had battled sleep problems for decades. The pressure of performing, the constant anxiety, the weight of being Michael Jackson, it all made peaceful sleep nearly impossible. He once told people close to him that he hadn't had a proper night's sleep in years. Enter Dr. Conrad Murray. Murray was hired as Michael's personal physician for $150,000 per month. His job was simple on paper: keep Michael healthy enough to perform 50 shows. But in reality, his role became something far more dangerous. Michael had discovered that a surgical anesthetic called propofol could knock him out completely. He called it his milk because of its white, milky appearance. It gave him the oblivion he craved, a complete blackout where no dreams, no anxiety, no thoughts could reach him. The problem: propofol is meant to be administered in hospitals with proper monitoring equipment by trained anesthesiologists. It was never meant for sleep. It was never meant for home use. But Michael was desperate, and Dr. Murray said yes. Before we continue, I want to hear from you. Where were you when you heard Michael Jackson had died? How did the news impact you? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's share our memories of this moment together. Now, let's get into the final 24 hours. June 24, 2009. The day before late morning, Michael woke up at the Carrollwood Drive mansion, the 17,000-square-foot home he was renting for $100,000 per month in the exclusive Holmby Hills neighborhood. His 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, were in the house with their nanas. By all accounts, Michael seemed in decent spirits that morning. He spent time with his children, something he cherished deeply. Despite his complicated life, those who knew him said his kids were his entire world. Afternoon rehearsals at Staples Center around 1:00 p.m., Michael headed to the Staples Center for rehearsals. The production team was working around the clock to prepare for the London shows. The sets were elaborate, the choreography was demanding, and everyone was watching to see if Michael could still deliver. That day, he ran through several numbers. Video footage that would later be released in the documentary film showed Michael working with choreographer Kenny Ortega and musical director Michael Bearden. He was engaged, creative, and still clearly brilliant. When he sang, the magic was undeniable. But those closest to him noticed something else too. He seemed frail, thin, at times distant. Kenny Ortega had actually sent Michael home from rehearsals on June 19th, just 5 days earlier, because he was so concerned about his condition. Michael had appeared disoriented and was so cold that he was wearing layers despite the warm arena. Ortega had written an email to producer Randy Phillips expressing his serious concerns about Michael's health and readiness. A meeting was held on June 20th between Michael, Ortega, Phillips, and Dr. Murray. At that meeting, Murray reportedly assured everyone that Michael was fine. He just needed rest. He would be ready. Evening final rehearsal June 24. TH's rehearsal ran until around 9:30 p.m. This would be the last time the public would see Michael Jackson perform. The footage showed him running through Earth Song and Thriller. His voice was strong. His movements, while not as sharp as his youth, still carried that unmistakable Jackson precision. When he left the Staples Center that night, he told people he was ready. Ready for London, ready to show the world. He had no idea he would never perform again. Late night at Carrollwood, Michael arrived home around 10 o'clock p.m. The house was quiet. His children were getting ready for bed. Michael spent some time with them before they went to sleep. Then began the nightly ritual that had become Dr. Murray's most important and most dangerous duty, getting Michael Jackson to sleep. According to court testimony from Murray's trial, this is where the nightmare truly began. Michael couldn't sleep. He never could. He would lie awake for hours, his mind racing, anxiety building about the shows, about his legacy, about everything. Normal sleep aids didn't work for him anymore. Dr. Murray was staying in a separate bedroom in the mansion, essentially on call 24/7 for moments exactly like this. June 25, 2009, the final hours 12 o'clock a.m. 2 o'clock a.m., according to Murray's own account given to investigators. Michael was agitated, unable to sleep. Murray began administering sedatives. First, he gave Michael 10 mg of Valium orally around 1:30 a.m. It didn't work. 3 o'clock a.m. Murray administered 2 mg of Ativan via Roman 4. Michael still couldn't sleep. 5 o'clock a.m. another 2 mg of Ativan was administered. Still awake. 7:30 a.m. Murray injected 2 mg of Versed. Nothing. 10:40 a.m. more Versed, another 2 mg. By this point, Michael Jackson had been given a cocktail of powerful sedatives over nearly 9 hours. None of it was documented in proper medical records. None of it was being monitored with appropriate equipment. And still, Michael couldn't sleep. He was exhausted, frustrated, and desperate. According to Murray, Michael kept pleading with him. "I have to sleep, Dr. Conrad. I have these shows to do. I must be rested." Approximately 10:50 a.m., the fatal decision. This is where everything went wrong. Dr. Conrad Murray, despite knowing the risks, gave Michael Jackson what he had been asking for all night, propofol. Murray administered 25 mg of propofol, diluted in lidocaine, through an Roman 4 drip. Michael finally fell asleep. Now, in a hospital, a patient on propofol would be connected to monitors tracking heart rate, blood oxygen levels, and breathing. There would be a crash cart nearby. Trained personnel would be watching continuously. In Michael Jackson's bedroom, there was none of that. Murray later claimed he stepped away for about 2 minutes to use the bathroom, but phone records told a different story. Between 11:18 a.m. and 12:05 p.m., Murray made numerous phone calls and sent text messages. He was on the phone for extended periods, not watching his patient. When he returned to Michael's bedside, he found him not breathing. 12 o'clock p.m., 12:21 p.m. Panic and delay. What happened in those crucial minutes remains somewhat unclear, but what we know is damning. Murray claimed he immediately began CPR, but he was doing it on a bed, a soft surface that makes chest compressions ineffective. Proper CPR requires a hard surface. Instead of immediately calling 911, Murray called Michael Jackson's personal assistant and the head of logistics for the tour. Precious minutes were wasted. It wasn't until 12:21 p.m. that Alberto Alvarez, a security guard, finally called 911. When paramedics arrived at 12:26 p.m., they found Michael Jackson lying on a bed, unresponsive. Dr. Murray was performing CPR. The paramedics worked on Michael for over 40 minutes at the house before transporting him to UCLA Medical Center. Throughout the ambulance ride, they continued resuscitation efforts. 2:26 p.m. time of death at Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Despite all efforts, Michael Jackson was pronounced dead at 2:26 p.m. The king of pop was gone. The aftermath, the news spread like wildfire. Within minutes, social media and news websites were overwhelmed. TMZ broke the story first. Then CNN and other major networks confirmed. Fans gathered outside the hospital, outside his homes, outside the Apollo Theater in Harlem. People cried openly in the streets of cities around the world. The toxicology report would later reveal the truth. Michael Jackson died from acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication. In simple terms, the combination of drugs, particularly the propofol administered without proper monitoring, stopped his heart. Dr. Conrad Murray was arrested in 2010 and charged with involuntary manslaughter. His trial became a media sensation. Witnesses painted a picture of negligence, of a doctor who prioritized his paycheck over his patient's safety, who administered dangerous drugs without proper equipment or training. On November 7, 2011, the jury found Conrad Murray guilty. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, but served less than 2 years due to jail overcrowding. Many felt justice was not fully served. Michael's family certainly did. The bigger picture, Michael Jackson's death exposed the dark side of celebrity medicine. It revealed how wealthy, powerful patients can find doctors willing to do almost anything for the right price. How desperation can cloud judgment on both sides. Michael wanted to sleep. He wanted to perform. He wanted to prove himself one last time. Dr. Murray wanted the money, the prestige, the access that came with being Michael Jackson's personal physician. Together, those desires created a perfect storm of tragedy. The This Is It concerts never happened. Instead, the rehearsal footage became a documentary, a bittersweet final glimpse of an artist at work. Michael's children, who lost their father at ages 12, 11, and 7, were left to navigate a world that had simultaneously worshipped and tortured their dad for his entire life. So what really happened in Michael Jackson's last 24 hours? The answer is both simple and heartbreaking. A man who couldn't sleep, a doctor who should have said no, a system that failed one of its biggest stars. Michael Jackson didn't want to die, he wanted to live. He wanted to perform those 50 shows. He wanted to cement his legacy, provide for his children, and remind the world why he was called the king of pop. But exhaustion, pressure, and years of medical dependency had taken their toll. And when he placed his trust in Dr. Conrad Murray, he placed it in the wrong hands. There are so many what-ifs in this story. What if someone had intervened earlier about Michael's health? What if Murray had refused to administer propofol at home? What if he had called 911 immediately? What if Michael had been in a properly equipped medical facility? We'll never know. All we have is what happened. A rushed 911 call, a frantic ambulance ride, and a pronouncement that echoed around the world. Michael Jackson died doing what he loved, preparing to perform. But he died because the people around him failed him when he needed them most. His music lives on. His influence remains immeasurable. From Beyoncé to Bruno Mars, from The Weeknd to every artist who has ever moonwalked across a stage, Michael's DNA is woven into the fabric of modern entertainment. But on June 25, 2009, at 50 years old, the music stopped. If this video moved you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who loves Michael Jackson's music. And subscribe if you haven't already. We have many more stories like this to tell. In the comments, let me know, what's your favorite Michael Jackson song or memory? Let's celebrate his incredible legacy together. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, legends never truly die. They live forever in the art they leave behind.